What up, nerds? Welcome to Comic Book Binging with Team Nerd Herd, where we discuss a comic book event or a series from different perspectives. And we have a special guest for you today, Copy. Why don't you take it away? What's going on?
What's going on, guys? This is Copy 801. I have just started a YouTube channel. I've been in the chats for a while now, but figured with a new year, try and distance myself from 2020. So here I am. Once again, guys, thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to see you, to put a face to the name. I know you've been supporting our channel since day one. Much appreciated. And again, thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So what's going on, JR?
Nothing much. It's another day, another outbreak of COVID at my work. So it's always fun.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Five COVID outbreaks in 2 weeks. It's officially an outbreak in our area. 5 people have tested positive in 2 weeks in a small area. Yeah,
wow, that's madness. So I'm glad you're okay and are with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Take that vitamin C, man.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I definitely need to take vitamin C somehow because this lovely complexion doesn't get enough of it.
All right, before we get started, just wanted to say hi to the fellas in the chat. What's going on, Justin? How you doing? And we also got Wesley's Comic Collection. What's up? We got Symbiote Comics. We got Hip Hops. How's it going, Steve? We got Rudy. Thanks for coming up.
Ouch, Rudy. That other comment. 12 tested positive in 5 days. Fuck.
Oh, man, that's horrible.
I hope
better
you're not
take care of yourself,
quarantined,
Rudy.
my man.
Yeah.
Right? All right, guys. So we are going to discuss DC Future State. Now, if you guys don't know, we have JR who dislikes, I wouldn't say hate, dislikes DC and is a lover of Star Wars. And we have Copy 801, who is an avid DC fan and a Star Trek fan. So we're going to get a lot of different perspectives on this particular book. What's great is that Copy was able to get JR to actually read a DC title. So this is going to be nuts.
So wait a sec. Let's rewind a little bit here. I don't hate DC.
I
hate how
dislike.
I dislike how DC's ran. I think DC is poorly ran right now. I think DC's got some of the greatest characters. I think they can make some amazing fucking movies if they can Snyder. But and I read Batman. I've collected like 10 years of Batman. So I do have a lot of DC, and I love Vertigo from DC.
But you're a Marvel fan. I mean,
I'm a
made
Marvel
it known to everybody that Marvel's where you're at. So again, we're just going to go with 2 different perspectives here on this DC Future State. So we're going to start off with our guest, Mr. Copy 801. Can you summarize Superman of Metropolis for us?
Sure. So Superman of Metropolis came out in one of the early weeks of Future State. It is a book that has 3 stories. And the first story is, just going to go and take a look at the book really quick. It's actually called Superman of Metropolis, so it's self-titled. It is written by Sean Lewis, and the artist is John Timms, with the colorist as Dave Elteb. So, without getting too much into it, it stars Jonathan Kent, who is Superman's son. If you are not familiar with what's been going on in continuity, Jonathan Kent was aged up. So 1 year passes on Earth. He's something like 7 years past for him. He went from being a preteen to being a teenager, late teenager. So
that sucks.
I read the story to figure out how. It's honestly, the way I've seen it, you either like it or you really don't.
Oh no, I
And
mean
that's
it
all I'll
sucks
say
just to
on
be.
that.
I'm just saying it sucks to go through, like, skip your teenage years like that. Like, you don't get to have all the fun. Not the fact that that it was stupid that they did it. I was just saying it sucks because you just went from being like 7, not knowing what girls are, to 18 to being like, oh, I can't fuck around with these girls anymore.
We never really deal with his romantic life that much, so.
Oh, he'll be gay eventually.
They just grow up so fast.
Yeah.
So, story starts out in the near distant future. Clark Kent, Superman himself, is gone. He's not in the picture. We have Jonathan Kent. We also have Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. But remember, they're both aged up. So I think the time frame is that they're in their late 20s. So Jonathan Kent's in his late 20s, and I think Kara is about late 20s, maybe early 30s, because she is older than him. So the whole thing that happens in the story is that Metropolis, as you could tell from the cover, Metropolis gets shrunk down into a bottle. If anyone is not familiar, DC villain Brainiac, his whole MO was that he would shrink cities down, keep them in his collection, and then study it, try and gain knowledge. Jonathan Kent figured out a way to do this, and he did this as a quote-unquote last resort. Kara Zor-El finds him, and they go through a little battle where they try and, because they're at odds, obviously she didn't want him to do that. He did it anyway. But it ends with a pretty decent cliffhanger. But I want you guys to actually read it, give it a chance, because the story isn't that bad. The story's pretty good. Out of a scale of 1 to 10, I gave it about a 7. Definitely readable. But again, I don't want to spoil too many details because there are a cool few things in there. But that does it for the first story. Now, writing-wise, pretty good writing. It gives you all the information you need.
So you didn't have to like have this knowledge beforehand. You could have just picked up the book and been like, okay, this is what it's going to be about.
I'd say reasonably. You don't need too much of a backstory. It kind of spoon feeds everything to you, but having a backstory to everything does help because it gives you a better grasp of their personalities.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, just moving on to the last thing, the art. I thought the art was pretty good. You know, it was nothing phenomenal, but it wasn't bad either. I would say it. I mean, it's par for the course. I can't really say that the art was bad. I can't say the art was absolutely phenomenal, but it was pretty good.
Okay. I've read it as well, and I thought the art was not bad. I thought it was very reminiscent of kind of like the 90-ish kind of style.
Very much so.
And I liked it. I also enjoyed the writing as well, so I agree with you, Copy. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, all in all, JR, what did you think?
If we're not going to spoil the big ball of fun, I'll refer to it as. I thought it was an okay story. I'm not a Superman fan. Being that is the case, I was able to follow it. I got it. My problem was for it being the first this future state story. I felt like it should have been a bigger bang. It should have been, here's the cliffhanger, and you're like, oh my god. And I feel like the Kara thing should have been the cliffhanger. You know what I mean? Like where she's kind of pissed at him. That should have been like she clocks him at the end of it, and then next issue they go, and you're like, oh, that was Kara that clocked him. It just felt kind of misplaced the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
The art was very 90s. I really want to know, though, and this is a question general I have, because I had the same thing with Batman. There's obviously a time loss between death metal or whatever the other tie-in bullshit there was, and this. What is the time frame? Do we know this?
Technically, we kind of do, but we also kind of don't. I say that because in order for you to get the time frame, you need to have picked up or read the DC Presents Future State free book that was given out prior to Future State starting. Because, excuse me, you'll notice that these books take place at slightly different times. As an example, Batman takes place, I believe, about 5 years. And I think this play takes place around maybe 10, maybe about 10, a little bit less than 15 or so.
Okay.
Wow.
And then we get Swamp Thing, which takes place thousands of years. Immortal Wonder Woman, which takes place literally in the thing. It says the end of time.
Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness.
Because it felt very much like, I don't know if you remember, there was a storyline years ago during New 52 that was called 1 Year Later, where they purposely left a year out. Yeah. Did you ever read that?
I think.
So basically, they relaunched everything.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They relaunched everything with another year, but they had another book that was a weekly book that worked its way backwards and filled in that year.
That is prior to New 52. That is called. That was after Final Crisis, I believe. It was the 52 weekly series, and they had everything.
Well, no.
Another one?
No, not that. They've had 3 or 4 weekly series. You have
Okay.
Do you have Countdown to New 52? You had Batman Eternal, which was like a 26-issue weekly series. You had another one that was like a Green Arrow one that was a 26 issues that basically when the Batman one finished, it was like every other week they came out. But there was another one that was worked backwards. That was a Batman-centric one. And I thought it was Batman Eternal, but it might be something else.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking of 52 of that weekly series because that one worked. I think that one worked backwards.
Yeah.
It did. It went to It went from 0 to 52 or 1 to 52, and then it counted back down.
Yeah.
That's I do remember that. I do remember that. But I think what JR has mentioned, I think it was before that.
It might have been before because they did it like 3 years in a row, basically. So they did different ones. But we're getting off track. What about the backup stories?
Yeah. So let's talk about those backup stories. So Superman had a Mr. Miracle backup story. What did you guys think?
All right. So we get the Mr. Miracle backup story. I'm just going to go through it really quick. It's called the Metropolis Menagerie. And writer is Brandon Easton with art by Valentine Delandro and Marissa Luis as the colors. So I'm going to be very honest.
Just be blunt. Just do it.
Channel your inner JR.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Channel it.
All right. The art was terrible.
What?
The art was awful. I mean, like, the art could be like, this could be, I feel like I was looking, you know, you guys see for a movie, you get the storyboards. You ever see those? Yeah. They're really rough, like really rough sketches. And if you color it, you're lucky if you get it colored the right way. That was the story.
See, I thought they're trying to go for a Kirby-esque because that's who created him. But it was just a really bad knockoff of a Kirby-esque.
Yeah, no, if they did, then this is like the dollar store. This is like the Wish Kirby. And not even the Wish Kirby. This is like the Wish Kirby that got discontinued and you can't find anymore. So, as for the story, you know, I'm not going to get into it because the story does take from elements of Superman and Metropolis. The story, if you can stand the art, is actually decent. The story is pretty decent. But the art is just so bad. That's the real. If you can get past the art, the story's okay. But
I'll be honest, I read it about 3 hours ago, and as I was reading it, I was falling asleep.
Yeah,
that's how bad it was.
Again, this is one of the times, and you're gonna find this. There are certain future state stories you have to be familiar with the characters in order to appreciate it. If you don't know the character, you're gonna fall asleep.
No, and
this is one of them.
Yeah, and he's one of those characters I know to a degree, but nowhere like maybe 5% of his total knowledge that you can have for him. You know what I mean? I know who he was, know where he came from, all that shit, but not more than that.
Yeah, no, this one's just.
So, as a new reader on DC Future State, Superman of Metropolis, would you recommend that book, Rob? Or
as a new reader?
Yeah. To a new reader.
As a new reader, no, I would not.
Okay.
I will say the third story, though, the Guardian story, I liked.
Now, the Guardian story is very interesting because it does something that the other two stories don't, and that is it flips back and forth between time. It gives you the ending, or it gives you like right around the ending, and then it flips back. And then it flips back one more time again, and then it bounces. But if you like stories like that give you, okay, this is what's going on, this is the backstory to what's going on. If you like those types of stories, then the Guardian story, it's for you. I enjoy it.
What I liked was the fact that it took place inside the bottle.
Yeah, that's true too.
I thought that was an interesting take. Release or find the story from inside there.
It took place. Supposedly this takes place 6 months after Metropolis has been bottled, which gives you some indication as to how long at least this is going to last. It's going to last at least 6 months.
Well, they're not doing. I noticed, like issue 2 has the follow up to one of the stories. Issue 3 has follow up to another one of the stories. I think issue 4 has the other follow up.
So what they're doing is this I don't like one bit. So issue 1 will have the main story and then backup stories. Those backup stories will conclude in the 3rd issue. And then issue 2 will introduce more backup stories. It is 100% to sell more copies.
Oh yeah.
100%, which cash grab. I get it, but from a reading standpoint, it's like, come on, man, because then you gotta go back, then you gotta reread it because it came out 2 months later and you forgot what it said.
Well, the good thing is all the DC Future State stuff is done at the end of, I think, this month or early next month, because it's only 2 months. Because they're popping out 4 issues in 2 months, real quick.
Yeah,
I'm actually hoping that they're done a lot sooner.
So, but see, that's where I have issues with DC is DC doesn't care about their fans. At least I feel like they don't. I feel the art should have been better in those books. The story should have been better in those books. I feel the Mr. Miracle story didn't need to be in a Superman book. They could have put that in another book. The whole thing of doing, oh well, you can read all 3 of them here, but then if you want to read the follow-up to it, you have to get issue 3. Well, now I have to buy 2 because I'm buying 3. Well, might as well buy 4, so now all of a sudden I'm buying all 4 of them. That the blatant just disrespect for the sellers or for the buyers. Bite me, hood rat. Ian.
Now, since you said that, let's talk about one more thing that has pissed off a lot of people.
Oh, bring it.
So, how much did that book cost?
Well, I'm not paying for that shit.
All right. Well, it's
they're like $10, weren't they?
So Superman of Metropolis. Let me move up to the front of this cover. The digital doesn't even have it. I believe Superman of Metropolis, along with the Batman stories, are $7.99. If you want the card stock, it's going to be $8.99 for each. Not just
is it worth it?
No.
Is it worth it to buy Superman and Metropolis? $7.99.
The $7.99? No, because as as you just said, the Mr. Miracle story could technically not be in the book. If it had better art, I would be okay with it, absolutely. But you can't really expect someone to spend $8, and this is just the cover A. I bought the cardstock because the cardstock was freaking phenomenal, but $8.99, $99 on a book. It's got 3 stories. I get it. You're technically saving money, but make it quality. Make it all quality.
I mean,
don't just give me 2 good stories. Oh,
at that point, they could have given us one of the short stories. Could have been a top tier artist. They could have got Jim Lee to do a backup story and do like a 4-issue, 4-page story, and do it between 2 books. So they're going to do that. I mean, it just seems way too much money for what you got.
I totally agree.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. So, guys, just to kind of catch you guys up on the chat, I know a lot of people just joined. So, shout out to Eric, to Hoodrat. What's up, Ian? How's it going? To Azorus. I'm glad you guys can make it. And again, just to kind of catch up, Copy went into kind of summarizing Superman of Metropolis and talked about how the writing was really well done. The art was okay. And some of the backup stories. And hopefully you guys caught all of that. But in short, if you're a new reader trying to get into DC Future State, there's a kind of a lot of baggage, a lot of information that the best thing to do is kind of like just to kind of pass.
But let them just decide that at the end.
Well, just summarizing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Go ahead.
You want me to get into Batman?
Yeah. So now, JR, can you tell us about the one of the hypest books out of DC Future State was the next Batman as well as Wonder Woman.
Right.
But walk us through Batman. Kind of summarize the story for us.
So, the Batman story. The first off, the reason I read it was because it wasn't Bruce Wayne. I figure if I'm gonna jump into this, I want to see the story that everyone's going gaga over and find out about who this new Bruce Wayne or who this new Batman is. Basically, you show up at Gotham. I don't know the time frame of how many. I think you said 5 years. You said roughly. Copy.
Yeah. Let me. While you're talking, I'm gonna go and find.
Okay. To
that,
support my
so that
bullshit.
way I can give you the actual time frame.
So basically, during this time, something has happened to Batman, Bruce Wayne. We know at the end of the Joker Wars, the Fox family took all of his money, or they were given all of his money. I didn't want to say they took it. And now there's this new Batman running around. Now, we all knew beforehand that it was Jace Fox is the one running as Batman. Thing is, during the whole book, first off, we don't find out who is Batman in that book. He never takes off his mask. He's never referred to as anything but Batman in the book. It's not until the second issue that we find out he's Jace. The thing is, the first... Right? No, they say Jace. It's not Tim. That's what everyone thought it was Tim, but it's actually, if you go to the second issue, it says Jace when he's talking on the walkies or on the phone, whatever. Okay. But in the first issue, basically, it's these couple kids. Well, you find out first Batman and the magistrate, this task force that's taken over the city, this centralized police force, I guess, has basically outlawed vigilantism. They are authorized to kill Batman on sight. So we have a little shootout with him, and then at one point we see these 2 kids that I believe are supposed to be Mexican that want to join the Bane gang. And So they have to, in really creative fashion, to join the gang, they have to shoot someone from another gang. Amazing story right in here, people. So, I mean, not that we haven't heard this before, but basically they have to go, they do a drive-by to shoot this other guy. They're two brothers. The one brother kind of chickens out and kind of falls on the other one, I guess, and stops him from killing the other gang member. This causes drama. The one gang member trying to shoot them. Batman intercedes, basically saves the kids' lives because the cops are going to kill them also because they're wearing those stupid Bane luchador masks.
Oh.
Fuck. Yeah, I'm sorry. This was a hard read, and I love Batman, but this is a hard read. He gets them, saves them, and then we end up finding also, like, I guess Fox, the mother Fox, is working with the magistrate or working with the governor's office, trying to say this law is not right, that they shouldn't be able to have the magistrate out there, all this stuff. Needless to say, the first Batman story, if you're going to read the book, just skip that. Just go to the backup stories. The art looks like bad 90s indie art. Like, I think I've seen better art drawn in like a little kid's book. It was that bad.
Wow.
Oh man.
The coloring looked like the guy had like Photoshop or Windows or Microsoft Paint, and he had like 3 colors to work with.
Oh,
it was
my God.
Pretty bad.
Oh boy.
I'm not even gonna say who the art or the writer's name, because neither one of them is worth. I think Liefeld.
It's worth mentioning, right?
I think Liefeld might be a better fit to write or draw and write this book than these two were.
Oh, man.
God.
At least they drew feet, though.
There you
They
go.
did draw feet. But then you get to the backup stories, and I try to think which came first. Was it the Cassandra one that came first, or was it what was the other one?
There's a katana.
Oh, the katana.
Oh my God.
So the katana story was actually really cool, especially for a character that I feel hasn't got a lot of respect in a long time. It's supposed to be the outsider's story, and I guess basically Tim Fox is driving a car with some kids in it, not the same kids, but some other kids that are part of this like resistance or whatever. And he's trying to get them out of town because they're going to get killed by the cops. Katana kind of jumps in and saves their asses, has a badass fight scene, and then ends up going to some warehouse and fighting some magistrate people again. And then some, I don't remember the guy's name, but I just know he was a white dude that was on drugs. That was the big musk guy. Do you remember who he was, Copy? The big bad guy at the end of it?
Oh God.
I mean, I know I'm not narrowing down too much by saying white guy, because it seems like every bad guy in it was the white guy.
Yeah. No, I don't remember who it was. Didn't he have like a bionic arm or something like that?
Yeah. No, he was like the not the mini boss. He was definitely the big boss. And there was some beef between past history between him and Katana. And it was an interesting story. I thought that was the better story of the group. It was Duke that was driving them out of town, not Tim.
Yeah.
Duke was the signal. Sorry, excuse me. The next story then was the Cassandra story.
Yep, and that happened in issue 2, right? Of the next Batman?
That was issue 1.
Was it the Cassandra one?
Cassandra one. I thought it was issue 1.
Okay.
I thought they did 2 of them. If it was an issue 2, still it was a good story. Because or maybe it was an issue 2, and maybe issue 1 had the Arkham Angels, or as everyone else likes to call them, the Suicide Squad. You already have a book called Harley Quinn. Could you put it in there and call it Suicide Squad? Which had some woman running around that clearly was supposed to be Dr. Quinzel, but not Dr. Quinzel, as their shrink, running around with Two-Face, trying to be sane and trying to find Killer Croc. Trying to think who else was on that team. Because there was a couple
I'm looking
people.
it up really quick right now.
I mean, it was actually wasn't a bad story, other than the fact that, like, you can clearly tell the main woman was supposed to be Harley Quinn. It was flat out supposed to be Dr. Quinzel.
Yeah, it's by Astrid Arkham.
That's what it was. Astrid Arkham was the main character. And they found Croc, but the team was like, I know it was Two-Face because they kept referring to him. But it was basically Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. Like, I felt that backup story was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It could have been like a Suicide Squad of one of the multiverse ones. I mean, it was, the art was good. I thought it was great.
No, it looked like they put more effort into the 2 backstories than they did into the Batman story, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, I could definitely see that point of view, 100%.
But again, like with the Mr. Miracle, they could have put that Harley Quinn, or I'm sorry, they could have put the Arkham Angels as a backup story for Harley Quinn. It just felt they kind of shoehorned it in there and went, oh, it's Arkham. Okay, we'll just put it over there.
So just a kind of a question just for both you and also to Copy. Would you have rather paid less money to get the one story, like a Superman or the Batman, or would you have paid like that $4.99 or $3.99, whatever it is, for like $5 for that Suicide-esque story, or that Guardian story for Superman, or like the Katana?
I think for the Batman one, other than the whole African American angle, I think if you would have just put that up on the shelf, I think people would not have bought that. I think they needed those backup stories to make that one sell, and also to make him African American. I would have rather had them been like they did with Death Metal, make them like a side story, in a side book altogether.
What
about you, Copy?
So, just going off of the Arkham Knight story, I'm going to be honest, that was the story I didn't like the most.
What?
Out of the book.
Why didn't you like it?
Because the main character, Astrid Arkham, she had every cliche in the book for a character of that type. And the whole thing with Future State that they marketed as was something different. I'm like, all right, they're gonna throw crap at a wall. Let's see what sticks. And it's literally what they're doing right now. I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. This was like a multiversal Suicide Squad, and I get it. The main character had every single trope and every single stereotypical thing that you would expect from a resistance leader. Just listening to her monologues, that literally I rolled my eyes every time I saw more than 2 or 3 sentences. I'm like, all right, here we go again with this freaking lady. So that killed it for me. For that story.
I get that.
But going back to your question, yes, they should have done give it a regular $3.99 price point, and then make everything just split the stories, or at most have 2, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Like the shorter ones, the shorter side stories. Maybe lump that in there. But does everything need to be in a big, huge issue and have some of them have 4 stories? Books super thick, and they charge you for it.
Yeah.
Do we care about all the characters? No. Usually you care about the character that's on the cover. I'm a Batman fan. I'm going to buy this because I like Batman. I'm a Superman fan. I'm a Jonathan Kent fan. I'm going to buy this because I want what's in there. The Katana story, fantastic. If you're a Katana fan, you don't have to spend $8.99, $7.99. Just buy that for $3.99.
Yeah.
So I would have preferred they would have done that. But they're doing what they're doing now, and they're getting an idea of what's sticking. So we'll see.
The thing. Wouldn't it be hard to figure out what's really sticking if people are buying like the Batman book because of the Katana story?
Exactly.
They're not going to know, right?
They're not going to know from sales alone. They'll know from what people are talking about. But the way DC is going right now, they're not really paying attention to that. Ever since AT&T bought out DC, they've been focusing on the numbers. They haven't had that much fan engagement.
Yeah. Well, the problem is also you don't get a fair shake. Because, think about this. If you would gave a good team and had, give Tinian as a writer and whoever the current artist is on the Batman book, go, okay, we want you to write Jace Fox as the new Batman. I think it would actually be a good book. I think you'd have a chance with that. The problem is they gave him to this team that doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And it's not a fair... You can't really evaluate it because that story by itself was probably the weakest, I thought, out of that whole book. I thought it was interesting the fact that he was African American, but you don't even find that out in that first issue.
No,
he never takes off the mask. So there's no hook. There's no catch at the end of it where you're going like, oh shit, that's not Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
So I don't know. I just felt it was not a good way of doing it. But,
no, agreed.
But I think also, like you said with DC, they're caring more about the numbers than anything right now. And I just feel that DC's very much going, we don't know what to do with our books. We're getting killed. Our movies are getting killed. We're going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall and hope it sticks. We're going to diversify our characters as much as possible. And the problem is diversifying for diversify's sake doesn't work. It's not natural. It's not because we don't want a African-American Superman or we don't want a Mexican version of Wonder Woman. We want a good story to explain why that character's that. Or my thing, I call it hijacking. When Marvel did a couple years ago, when you start hijacking characters' names and go, okay, we're going to get rid of you, Hawkeye, because we're going to have a female version of Hawkeye come out. Here you go.
So the whole generation or legacy.
I would rather have her called something else. I have nothing against Kate Bishop. I think she's a fine character. I think Riri's an awesome character. But the reason I love Riri so much, she's Ironheart. She's not Iron Man. You know what I mean? She's trying to build her own name for her own character. You got a lot of people that buy books because it's Batman, because it's Superman, and they're gonna buy it. Doesn't matter. You can put Donald Trump in the fucking suit, and they're gonna buy it. So,
oh man,
is he hugging Nazis or?
I don't know.
I'm just
he can give him fellatio as far as I'm concerned.
I'm just imagining that right now. Oh,
but people would buy it because it's still, oh, I've got a complete run. Damned if I'm going to not have my complete run of whatever. And I just feel that they're kind of taking that advantage. I'd much rather have them go, hey, here's a new Batman, but not call him Batman. They have Batwing. They had come out a couple years ago, which was an awesome character, and they never did anything with him. They have the Signal. They never do anything with him. So you know what I mean? It's just that's my take at it. Both companies do that, and I fucking hate that hijacking names.
I think it's because like it's more notoriety, right? I mean, you have Batman or the Signal. I mean, which has the name recognition? Which one would you go to, right?
Yeah. No, and I agree. I mean, and Marvel does it too. I mean, you got Miles Morales, you got Miles Morales, and you got Spider-Man. I mean, thankfully, Miles has become Miles and not Spider-Man, if you know what I mean. He's kind of cast off that shadow. But there's very few characters that they've come out with that they've been able to cast off the shadow of their daddy, in a sense.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, what about the other Future State books? I mean, I don't know if you guys had a chance to kind of read them. Is there one out of this whole slate that you would recommend? And that's for both you guys.
Well,
I was about to say, don't think too hard, Copy.
No. Well, I mean, I'm going to do a shameless plug. I'm reviewing
Wonder Woman.
Well, I'm reviewing every book on my channel. I'm buying the whole run and giving you an in-depth review, going over the whole story and letting you know. So since I've read everything by now, I'm going to be honest, the books that I have enjoyed the most, that I feel like anyone can go into, are my top 4. And that would be Justice League. It was the Justice League Dark. And I believe I know the Justice League Dark was written by Ram V, who is writing the Justice League Dark story.
Mm-hmm.
The Justice League Dark story was phenomenal. The Justice League story was good, but the Justice League Dark one was absolutely stupendous. That was really good. Believe it or not, Catwoman. I think it only had that. Yeah, I'm not a Catwoman guy, but I read that story, and I had those moments where I was like, "Oh man," and it was like, and then you get a little bit more, and you're like, "Oh man," and then the last one, the cliffhanger, was phenomenal. I wanted to read the next book after that. And number 3 is the Harley Quinn book. Not a Harley Quinn fan. Full disclosure, don't like how she's written. I hate it. I get it. Harley Quinn is crazy. That doesn't mean you have to narrate her crazy. I find her books very difficult to follow. You know, no disrespect to any Harley Quinn fan, but that's just my personal opinion. I find them difficult to follow. This book, the art was phenomenal. The story was great. I liked it. I really did. I think they wrote her well, and she still had that crazy element a little bit, but just read it and find out. And then the Yara Flor Wonder Woman story. I read that, and it was a great departure from, Diana Prince, the Wonder Woman that we know. Mm-hmm. Because Diana Prince, she's very virtuous. She is a paragon of womanhood. She exemplifies female superheroes. She's always prim and proper and all this. This one, she's a loose cannon. She literally just does whatever she does. She's brash. She's sudden. She's harsh. It's just such a departure, and it made her more grounded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So those would be my top books, I would say. And the best part is, I think all of those books are $3.99. They're all cheap. They only have Justice League, I think, is $5.99, or I think so. But Catwoman, $3.99. Harley Quinn, $3.99. I think Wonder Woman's even $3.99. So they're cheap. You get a better story out of something like that than you can get out of a $7.99, $8.99 book. Because the whole book is that one character. It's like, okay, we need to sell this book on this one character. And they do it.
When I think they're allowed with those, Diana, even to an extent, they're allowed to be a little more loose on what they want to do with the characters. There's not such a rigidness to, well, Batman can never be anything but this. You know what I mean? And Superman's the same way. And I think Wonder Woman's starting to get to where that point of that she has to be this way. And I think that's probably why they made Yara completely opposite. And if that's the case, that's great, because Wonder Woman's kind of stiffy and not in a good way.
Read this book. Just give it a try. Give it a shot.
Probably when they get in the dollar bins, I'll go back and pick them up and read them. I'll be honest, with the two that I read, I'm probably not picking up any more. I just think, in general, DC's just going down the drain, and it sucks. Because I'm a firm believer that in order for Marvel to do well, I need DC to do just as well. Because if there's not that balance where they're fighting at each other for number one spot, then all DC Marvels can go, well, you have no one else to read. Fucking deal with it. Here's your Spider-Man shit. And I don't want that. I want good stories. Because I think DC's had some amazing stories in the past. Kingdom Come was a fucking phenomenal story when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the Crisis, even though, and I love Flashpoint, but DC with their fucking resetting the universe every 3 years. Enough with it. Leave the universe alone for 20 fucking years, please. Just leave it alone. Act as if Rip Hunter's not around. Get rid of fucking Booster Gold. Anyone that has time travel abilities, just fucking exile them. And just make a universe. It's frustrating because you never know what version, like, is this story continuity now or is this not? You know what I mean? Like, I know Titans for a while there, they didn't know what the fuck. Like, at one point, Drew's contract was continuity, then it wasn't. Nightwing wasn't. Yeah. And now I guess they know everything now, I guess. Is that what came out of Death Metal?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right. So, Death Metal made everything from pretty much right from Crisis on Infinite Earths, or like just before that, going completely forward, everything is continuity now. So they finally streamlined everything so that way all the heroes remember all the events. So all those really awesome 80s DC books that everybody really liked reading, those are continuity now. 90s is continuity. The early 2000s, that's all continuity now.
Red and Blue Superman, yes. Finally, you're fucking continuity again. God damn DC. That's why I have a hard time with DC's. They've just done some shit. You're just like, really? Really, how dumb do you think we are?
Oh boy, they've.
I love Jeff Johns, and I absolutely love Hal Jordan. He's one of my favorite. He is Green Lantern, as far as I'm concerned. John Stewart's okay. Kyle can get back in the fucking fridge with his girlfriend. Guy Gardner's okay. But that whole Rebirth storyline, you mean the Dark Phoenix saga, is kind of like, what, really? You're going to rehash an old Marvel story? Yeah, I don't know. That's why I have problems with a lot of. And Steve, the reason it has to be Spider-Man shit is because that is Spider-Man is like the most DC character of the Marvel Universe. He is the one character I would trade for Batman in a heartbeat. just to see Superman beat the shit out of him. Actually, it'd be more fun to see Deathstroke beat the shit out of him.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
No, I mean, I have to agree with both you guys. Like I've love all of the old stuff. I'm glad everything is kind of into continuity now. And to JR's point, Hal Jordan is my Green Lantern. I also agree with you, Copy, in some of those DC Future State books. I enjoyed Harley Quinn. I enjoyed Wonder Woman. I also surprisingly enjoyed the Suicide Squad with Connor Kent. I thought that was badass.
That is a great sleeper book. Great.
Now, that is the Connor Kent, right? The Lex Luthor
clone
one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
that's him. He's got a receding hairline.
Yeah,
that's right.
But that'd be a good one because I know they got rid of him for a while too for no fucking reason.
He was in Gem World or something like that.
They just wiped him. They're like, no more, go away.
Yep.
It's just like, really? But then he's on the Titan show. That version
DC does that a lot. That's what really pisses me off is that they just take really solid characters and they're just like, hey, you know what? We don't really need you right now, so you can go hang out in that corner.
Like what they did to Nightwing for the last 6 years? Where they gave him amnesia and he didn't know he had all of his skills, but he's like, my name is Richard. I don't know who this dick dude is.
Yeah, I know a couple Nightwing fans, and every one of them just wanted that to end.
Yes.
Every one of them. They just rejoiced when he finally got his memory back. Because you also had the death of Alfred, and he still didn't even know. Literally in the R.I.P. Pennyworth book.
No, I know. I read it.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was so bad.
Oh.
You'd think that'd be the one time they go, oh, that snaps him. That gets him to remember who the fuck he is. And it's like, nope, who the fuck is... I'm only here because I have to be here. I don't really know who the fuck this old dude is. Go cry. I'll be over here in the corner.
Drinking.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like, I don't know who this guy is, but he seemed like a really cool guy. I mean, I'm sorry you're upset. I'm like, you piece of garbage. Why?
And don't get me wrong, Marvel does fuck up. I mean, they've made Spider-Man a hit. Obviously, they can't do everything right. And even with Spider-Man, they did the Clone Wars or the Clone Saga, which any Spider-Man fan would admit the Clone Saga was fucking ass. There's been some horrible X-Men stuff. The X-Men Extinction Agenda, or Executioner's Song. Go back and read that gem.
With Strife?
Yeah. There's been some horrible stuff. They let not Chuck Dixon, Chuck Austin write X-Men for a couple years. Yeah. Mystique and Juggernaut fuck each other. Try to figure that one out. Yeah. And that was why they're both on the X-Men team.
Nice.
Yeah, there's been some great stuff there.
So
I mean, I just have at least with X-Men, or at least with Marvel, that's continuity. That is still continuity. That Juggernaut tagged up Mystique. Not like DC where they go, yeah, we're just gonna wipe that out of existence for a couple years. That's my big gripe with DC.
So what do you think is going to happen after all of this DC Future State?
So, all right. So this is their plan. So their plan
let's hear it.
Yep, they're going to do something called Infinite Frontier, which is literally their branding. You know how DC branded themselves? They were like DC Rebirth. And then they're like, we're going to call ourselves Universe now. This is DC Infinite Frontier. And this is to show that now that everyone remembers everything, anything could happen because you remember everything. And what they're doing is, and this is going to piss a lot of people off, they're keeping with the main backup story. So each book is going to have like 2 stories.
That doesn't bother me.
They're charging $5.99 a book though.
And what if you have to buy like the crappy next Batman? Or what if you have to buy that book just to get those 2 stories that last 3 pages?
It's like we always say, you collect what you like.
Exactly.
If you don't like the crappy Batman book, then don't fucking buy it. I guarantee you at some point they will collect those. Then you go, okay, here's my money, I'll buy it then. I mean, my issue is first off, if you're going to give everyone what they want and all this stuff, make everything happy, give me the old Bullet logo back. Give me the classic DC logo. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
I grew up with that logo. That's like the logo.
Yeah. Give me that logo back first off. And then if you're going to do all this stuff, that's fine. If you want to have backup stories and books, we used to have backup stories and books. I think it's cool to have backup stories. But make sure the main story is a good one. You're taking chances with the backup. Don't be taking chances with the main one and have the backup be the actual decent story.
They're not doing that, but what they are doing is they are, what's the best way to put this? They are consolidating books.
Yeah,
Justice League, I'll give you a great example. You have Justice League, you have Justice League Dark. These were 2 separate books. Now they are combined into the same book. Main story is Justice League. Backup story is Justice League Dark. So they're going to be doing that from now on. They're charging like a $5.99 cover price because now you're getting the main book and then you're getting that as the backup. So you're technically getting 2 books.
So that's not too bad because before it was like $3.99 for the Justice League book and $3.99 for a Justice League Dark book.
Exactly.
Yes,
if you read both, you come out ahead because you're saving
$1.
$2.
$2? Okay.
Yeah. So instead of spending $8, you spend $6. But if you only like one story, that's where you get screwed. Yeah. And apparently DC is only going to have about 10 physical, and they're going to have a crap ton online. I haven't taken a look at what the solicits are for the online books, but I saw what the solicits are for a lot of the regular books. One of which I'm excited for is Teen Titans Academy. If any of you read the Teen Titans book, they kind of set it up there, which is interesting. But then again, they're ripping off Marvel.
Yeah, Avengers Academy.
Oh no,
Strange Academy.
Strange Academy.
Where do you think Strange Academy came from? It came from X. Let's, if we really want to go roll all the way back, X-Men.
Okay.
The original Academy is X-Men. Xavier School.
And if we want to go even further back, the X-Men was a ripoff of Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
Doom Patrol came out, and then X-Men came out a year later, but they got more popular. They just rip off each other all the time.
Oh yeah, no, they always rip off each other. That's not uncommon. I mean, Slade Wilson, Wade Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who. I know Wade Wilson's a ripoff of Slade Wilson, but Slade Wilson's actually a ripoff of someone else. I think it was Swordsman. But yeah,
it's just.
So the consolidating books, this whole DC, go Infinity and Beyond. What is that? So
Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the fact that now that everything is in continuity, now they can go wherever. My question is, where the hell is the Justice Society of America? Because they're the OG team. And if any of you read their books from their revival in the late 90s to the 2000s, that solid storytelling. Solid. David Goyer, Jeff Johns, great stories.
Oh, yeah. I've got that full run.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember the Alex Ross covers.
Yeah, you need to go back and read those.
Yeah, those
are amazing stories. That whole
Phenomenal.
run, the whole Flash run that was when Jeff Johns was on Flash.
Oh, yeah.
Before they rebooted it, was freaking phenomenal. It was like 180 through like 230 or something.
So, do you think there's going to be life after that DC Future State with that DC Infinite? I can't even get this thing right.
I think the problem is this with DC. DC is in their parent company AT&T doesn't know what the hell to do with them. They're in so much flux right now. They know, like before it's been brought up by past guests, the owner of Frankie's, Kevin from Frankie's, they don't want to give up the intellectual property because they know that intellectual property, they can make movies out of it and they'll make money off the movies. The problem is that they are losing hand over fist on the comics. It's just the reason they're going more digital is because it's cheaper, and they don't have to pay paper. It's a higher profit margin. They cut out the comic shops. The problem is that we got to see what happens in the next few months. I think we'll really know, because I mean, and I agree with you, Sean Miller. I've been saying it for a while. I think the best move that's going to should happen that I keep hearing is DC's going to get bought by Sony, but Sony's first going to sell Spider-Man back to Marvel, and then Sony's going to get bought out by Apple. But we'll see. It's the whole thing of, do they want to give up that intellectual property, or are they going to go, hey, Dark Horse, you don't have anything to do. How about you make our comics? We keep the rights, and you make some money, we make some money. But
honestly, if AT&T sold them, if AT&T sold DC, DC would be in a much, much better place, because you could even tell right after AT&T bought out DC, so much stuff started happening so quickly that everything just went downhill. I mean, just look at what happened last year. So many layoffs, so much stuff going on. Yeah, that, it was like a year or two after they bought him out, but still, it's just the best thing that could happen to DC is if AT&T just cuts them loose and has someone else be responsible for just the company as a whole.
But
give it back to the hands of people who care. Give it back to don't have Suits do it, because it's not a numbers game. Give it to people who know how to write comics and that are comic fans themselves. That is the biggest success point to the MCU. Comic fans are in charge of what is going on. They have the final say, or they have one of the best, the best words in the whole thing. Until that happens, we're going to get more of the same. We'll get a couple diamonds in the rough, but other than that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is, for a while there at least, they were run by Jeff Johns and Jim Lee that do know how to write stories and do know how to tell stories. But I think the big problem is it also needs to go to the movies too. DC fans need to stop being abused. They need to go stop with this thing of going, oh, Snyder's this great guy, he makes this great movie. You guys deserve better. You need to tell yourself, I deserve better than this DC crap. I'm not saying Marvelize the movies and make them kid friendly, but Superman should not be snapping necks. He should not be an asshole. I mean, that's against the character, and it's just, I mean, the fact that the movie is remembered for, oh, your mother's name is Martha.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the most popular line out of that fucking movie. But until DC fans start going, okay, we're done with this, and stop supporting that shit, they're going to keep putting it out, and they're going to keep milking it and not care about the comics. So, I mean, money tells. That's why I'm not buying any of this Future State shit. You're not getting a dime out of me from it. But.
Well, I can't say the same. I am shelling some money out for DC Future State. But I will definitely pick up the Catwoman copy per your recommendation. I'll give that a read tomorrow at the LCS. Copy, do you have any parting shots?
I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I'll just say what we were talking about with the whole movie thing really quickly. DC needs to get their animated movies to the silver screen. Give Marvel live action and have DC do the animated portion. Because DC puts out gold with their animated movies.
They do.
The Batman Harley Quinn movie, that was phenomenal. It was great. It even had the same cast as the Batman the animated series, and it brought it up in continuity.
Cartoons are fucking amazing. Their cartoons are off the hook. But you deserve a fight scene between Superman and Bizarro in the middle of space, them flying at each other, beating the shit out of each other on the big screen. As a DC fan, you deserve that. And until they give you stuff that's just not crap, that doesn't look bad. I mean, I know Marvel has Industrial Light and Magic, but you got to fight. There's got to be somebody that Disney doesn't own that Warner Brothers can use for CGI, because Steppenwolf was woof. I mean, he was bad.
Yeah, it's kind
that ending of Wonder Woman need to be. I love Patty Jenkins, but that story with the feel-good ending of, oh, I'm going to put my rope around your leg and you're going to get happy and tell everyone that it's okay, and whatever bullshit that ending was. Come on, social justice warriors, go away.
Very anticlimactic, 100%.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Listen, I'll take a fight scene between Superman and Bizarro. I'll take all of that. Give it to me animated. Make it top-notch animation. Did you watch Justice League Dark Apocalypse War?
Yeah, no, they're amazing. But the closest thing you've had to a real-life Superman fight was Keanu Reeves in the last Matrix movie that was made when I was just out of high school.
Yeah.
Think about that. You've had 20 years of animation, or 20 years of CGI upgrades in that time. You could have an amazing film. Same with Green Lantern. I mean, yeah, we had Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, which really was Kyle Rayner, and that's why Kyle Rayner sucks ass. Sorry, Eric Aguilar, but I mean, they basically put Ryan Reynolds into Kyle Rayner role and just went, oh, it's Hal Jordan. I would have much rather had what's the other guy that they're talking about, the comedian that they wanted to play him? He's part of Tenacious D. Jack Black. Jack Black was originally rumored to play Hal Jordan.
Really? What? I didn't know that.
Oh my God. That would have been insane.
Let's have Jack Black play Hal Jordan and Danny DeVito play Wolverine. And then have both of them do a Marvel DC crossover.
I want Jack Black to play Mixoplex.
Oh, that would be great.
Give me him as Mixoplex.
That would be great.
Oh my God.
How fun would that movie be?
Oh, that'd be
epic.
Jesus Christ. That would be phenomenal.
I mean, come on. They could do it. It wouldn't be that hard to do that. Have him be as Mixoplex. They can bring in Bizarro as one of his people that he creates or something. I mean, it's...
Who would you play Bizarro? Real quick.
No, what you do is you CGI it. Have Bizarro be Cavill. Have part of the scene film Cavill as Superman fighting, and have a double fighting on the other side, and then flip it around, have Cavill and Bizarro makeup, fight him that way. I mean, that's what you have to do for Bizarro. I mean, but think about how epic that would be.
That'd be pretty sick.
But on that note, we should probably call it a night. Do you want to call us out, Copy? Or send us off? You should know the call line by now.
Let me think, because I kind of based mine off of yours, believe it or not.
Ooh, nice. Thank you.
I took
We're
yours.
copyrighted. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right, everybody. Remember, this is Copy 801 and Team Nerdherd signing off, and collect what you like.
Let me get this. And of course, I don't do the back bumper.
Nah.
It's one of those nights.
Live show.
Show me the one whose safety deems such destruction. This is the way.